Dr. Sheetal Patanjali, and I'm taking the demonstration of fetal skull today. Now this fetal skull is composed of three entities. One is the neurocranium, which is also called as the calvaria or the skull cap, and it is a protective case for the delicate brain. Okay, then the other one is the viscerocranium or the facial skeleton, and the third entity is the base of the skull. Okay, now this neurocranium, it is made up of flat bones which ossify by intramembranous ossification, and it is composed of two frontal bones, two parietal bones, and one occipital bone. So two frontal bones, two parietal bones, and one occipital bone. Now these bones are united by sutures which are fibrous joints, and these gaps called as fontanelles. So this makes the brain fetal skull very pliable and compressible, especially during the vaginal delivery. Now this it aids in the process called as molding. I'll be talking about molding later. Now the five bones which form the neurocranium are two frontal bones, and these are the two frontal eminences, the two parietal bones, and these are the two parietal eminences, that is the projecting part here, that is called as eminence. And this interparietal diameter or biparietal diameter is the widest diameter, which is 9.5 centimeters of the fetal skull and the whole fetal body, because the skull is very large compared to the fetal body. So if this biparietal diameter can come out very easily during the labor, then the rest of the fetus will be delivered without any problem. Then this is the occipital region or the occiput, and this is the external occipital protuberance. Now this the two frontal bones are united by a suture that is called as metopic suture, and this suture disappears by 4 years of age, and if it persists, then it is a variation. Then the other sutures which are there in the neurocranium are the sagittal suture. This is the sagittal suture in the midline. This is the coronal suture, and these are the two lambdoid sutures. So the metopic suture, the coronal suture, and the sagittal suture are united by areas called as anterior fontanelle. The area called as anterior fontanelle, which is a wide gap, which is around 3 centimeters by 3 centimeters wide gap in the fetal skull, and it is at the intersection of the metopic suture, coronal suture, and the sagittal suture. This area is it's called as anterior fontanelle. So there are 6 fontanelles in the fetal skull. Anterior and posterior are unpaired fontanelles, and there are 2 anterolateral, also called as the sphenoidal fontanelles, which correspond with the area called as pterion, and this is the lambdoid or posterior fontanelle, where the 2 lambdoid sutures meet with the coronal suture, with the sagittal suture. This area is called as posterior fontanelle, and it's also called as asterion. So this is called as pterion, or the area where the 4 bones meet: the frontal bone, parietal bone, temporal bone, and greater wing of sphenoid. So this is united by an H-shaped suture. This is a very important area because underlying this there is the anterior branch of the middle meningeal artery. Okay, so this is a very delicate area, the pterion. So yeah, so this is anterior fontanelle, this is posterior fontanelle, also called as the lambda. So pterion is the sphenoidal fontanelle where 4 bones meet, and this area is called as asterion. Then we go to the other landmarks. The vertex. The vertex is the presentation between the coronal suture and the lambdoid suture. So this area is called as the vertex. Okay, this is the most frequently engaging presenting part during the vaginal delivery, the vertex. Then the other presentation is the brow presentation. The brow presentation is the area between the coronal suture and the glabella and the supraorbital margins. Okay, so this area is called as the brow presentation, and this is the face presentation, and this is the occiput. Okay, so this area is also called as the sinciput or the brow region. This is called as occiput. Okay, and this is called as the vertex. The most prominent or highest point on the vertex is called as the bregma. Okay, this is the bregma. Then nasion. Nasion is nothing but the glabella. The glabella is the root of the nose, and this is the supraorbital margin. Then the occiput is the region between the that is the lambdoid suture and the nape of the neck. This area is called as the occiput. Okay, sinciput is made up of the brow and the face. Okay, then we talk about sutures. So this is metopic suture, the sagittal suture, and this is the coronal suture. So this area is called as anterior fontanelle. I'll be telling you there are around six importances of anterior fontanelle. First of all, the dimensions is around 3 centimeters, anteroposterior and transverse, and it is made up of membranous bone. Okay, and this area is used for molding. Molding is decreasing the biparietal diameter where these bones come closer together, and there is some degree of overlap of the flat bones of the calvaria. Now all these flat bones are going to ossify by intramembranous ossification, and they are united by these sutures, which are the fibrous joints. Okay, there is some amount of overriding of the bones during the process of molding or the vaginal delivery, so that this biparietal diameter is reduced. Actually, the biparietal diameter is 9.5 centimeters. Now, the other importances of anterior fontanelle is underlying this. So first is molding of the fetal skull, then is to know the manner of engagement of the fetal head, whether there is synclitism or asynclitism. So whether you can palpate the sagittal suture and this anterior fontanelle and know the engagement of the fetal head during delivery. Then it also aids in increase in the size of the cranium, especially during first 2 years of age. There is massive growth of the brain, especially up till 18 months. So that is the time when the anterior fontanelle is supposed to fuse, 18 months or 1.5 years. Okay, and then just underlying the anterior fontanelle, there will be the superior sagittal sinus, which is a dural venous sinus, from which you can withdraw the blood for any bacteriological examination if the infant's pulses are not felt. Okay, so you can take you can put a vein and you can aspirate the blood for any bacteriological examination in case the pulses are not felt. And suppose there is a dehydrated infant, this anterior fontanelle will be sunken, and if it is bulging, it indicates raised intracranial tension, also called as hydrocephalus. Especially raised intracranial tension can be most frequent causes hydrocephalus, where there is blockage in the CSF drainage pathway. Okay, so you can inject IV fluids in a dehydrated patient infant through the by a scalp vein catheter through the anterior fontanelle. Then the other importance is, if it doesn't fuse by 18 months of age, then it indicates that there is some, you can wait up till 2 years. If it doesn't fuse beyond 2 years of age, that means that there is rickets or vitamin D deficiency and calcium deficiency, because vitamin D is required for the absorption of calcium. So rickets will cause a wide gap here. Okay, and that condition is called as craniotabes. Okay, so that was about anterior fontanelle. This is the first and most important fontanelle. The other thing is, so I told you molding, increase in the size of the cranium, to know the management of the fetal head during labor or delivery. Then you can assess the hydration of the fetus. If it is sunken, it means dehydration. If it is bulging, it means that hydrocephalus or blockage in the CSF drainage pathway. Then this thing, you can put IV fluids if the pulses are not felt in a dehydrated infant. You can put it through a scalp vein catheter through this, and you can even withdraw the blood for bacteriological examination. If it is not fusing by 2 years of age, that means that vitamin D drops have to be given, which helps in absorption of calcium, and vitamin D deficiency is prevented, which causes a weakened area called as craniotabes. It persists. the anterior fontanelle. The other thing is, the other unpaired fontanelle is this posterior fontanelle, and if this area is supposed to fuse by 2 months to 3 months, 2 to 3 months, okay, and this area, if it okay, so this is corresponding with the lambda. Then this area, or the sphenoidal or anterolateral fontanelle, this is also supposed to fuse by 2 to 3 months of age, and this posterolateral fontanelle or mastoid fontanelle, this is going to fuse by 12 months or 1 year. Okay, so just remember, they will ask you these questions in Viva. So anterior fontanelle importances and how many months it takes to fuse. This is 18 months, this is 2 to 3 months, this is 2 to 3 months, corresponds with pterion, and this is asterion or mastoid fontanelle. This closes by 12 months of age. Okay, so all this scalv area is ossifying by intramembranous ossification. Then other thing, then we'll go to, I've covered importances of fontanelles and sutures. Now suppose the sutures are prematurely closed. Okay, premature closure of the sagittal suture will lead to narrow head. Okay, antero-posterior diameter is longer and the skull will be very narrow. That is called as a scaphocephaly. And if it is premature closure of the coronal suture, that means that it will be a towering head, and the condition is called as brachycephaly. And uneven skull or flat skull is called as plagiocephaly. Okay, then anencephaly. Anencephaly is failure of fusion of the anterior neuropore or cranial neuropore because of maternal folic acid deficiency. Okay, then what are the other differences between, I've covered this, brachycephaly, scaphocephaly and plagiocephaly. Then the other differences between adult and newborn skull is the orbits are very large compared to the rest of the facial skeleton, and the paranasal sinuses are not well developed, or they can be rudimentary or absent. They develop only later. Maxilla and mandible are much reduced in size. Okay, and then in the base of the skull, if you just look at the base, there is absence of mastoid process. Okay, mastoid process starts developing after the child starts lifting the head and moving the head. So that takes about 2 years to develop for the mastoid process because of continuous pull of the sternocleidomastoid as the child is moving the head. Okay, then even styloid process is not conspicuous. So mastoid process, mastoid, antrum and all are not well developed. Even styloid process is not well developed. Okay, then maxilla and mandible are much reduced in size, and this thing, the mandible, the coronoid process is considerably longer than the condylar process. Okay, and the angle of the mandible is more obtuse. Okay, and this symphysis menti is united by a cartilage here. Okay, the two mandibular bones unite at the symphysis menti at the chin region. Then this mandibular foramen is more towards the alveolar margin, and the sockets of the teeth are not developed yet. Okay, then that are the main differences between the mandible. Okay, so this face is the area between the brows and the glabella and the floor of the mouth. This area, it's very small compared to the rest of the neurocranium, which is very much large. Base of the skull, the most important thing is absence of mastoid process, and styloid process is also not conspicuous. And then what? Yeah, most of the things are covered. So you have to sum it all up, I will just tell you. The fetal skull has got 3 parts: the neurocranium, which has got 5 bones, 2 frontal bones united at metopic suture, 2 parietal bones, and this thing, the occipital bone, and 2 temporal bones also. So there are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bones, not 5, totally 7 bones. And so 7 bones. Okay, then viscerocranium is the facial region between the orbital margin, that supraorbital margin, and the floor of the mouth. The base of the skull is mainly ossifying by endochondral ossification. The landmarks which we have covered is the vertex. Okay, the vertex is the area between the coronal suture, between the coronal suture and the supraorbital margin. Between the coronal suture and the lambdoid suture. This area is called as vertex. Then this area is called as the sinciput or the brow, that is between coronal suture and the supraorbital margin. So this is the brow presentation. Then there is occiput. Occiput is this area between the lambdoid suture and the nape of the neck. Then the prominences, 2 frontal prominences, 2 parietal prominences. The widest diameter is the biparietal diameter, 9.5 centimeters. Then this thing, the external occipital protuberance. Then bregma is the highest point on the sagittal suture. Then lambda is this area which it corresponds to the this thing, the 2 lambdoid sutures uniting with the this thing, coronal suture. So there is posterior fontanelle here, and then nasion or glabella is this one, the root of the nose. Then sutures we have done. This is metopic suture. It disappears by 4 years of age. The sagittal suture and the coronal suture. If there is premature closure of the sagittal suture, it leads to scaphocephaly. If there is premature closure of coronal suture, it leads to a towering type of head that is called as brachycephaly. And uneven skull or flattened skull is called as plagiocephaly. Then we have done the fontanelles, which are wide gaps which are filled by membranous this thing, and there is no ossification yet. So this is required for, especially for the molding, that is the decrease in the biparietal diameter for easy vaginal delivery. It has to fuse by 18 months of age. Then this thing, anterolateral fontanelles or sphenoidal fontanelles, they correspond with pterion, where 4 bones meet: frontal, parietal, temporal and greater wing of sphenoid, and this area corresponds to anterior branchiomedial meningeal artery. Then this is called as the sphenoidal fontanelle, and posterolateral fontanelle is called as mastroid fontanelle. Mastroid process develops by 2 years of age, and then this thing, the 2 posterolateral fontanelles are mastroid fontanelles. Then mandible we have done, the symphysis menti, the 2 mandibular processes unite at this symphysis menti. Okay, then the angle of the mandible is more obtuse and coronoid process is longer than the condylar process. That's the main difference. And the mental foramina are very close to the this thing, incisor teeth. Okay, then of course teeth are not developed yet as yet. Then importances of anterior fontanelle I have told you. Sutures. Anencephaly is failure of the cranial neuropore to close because of maternal folic acid deficiency. That's a neural tube defect where the skull cap or calvaria is not formed and the brain is exposed to the amniotic fluid and it dehydrates and degenerates. Okay, then diplo. This fetal skull has got unilaminar bone, and this diplo starts appearing by that is the 2 compact bone ka plates, inner table and outer table, are separated by spongy or cancellous bone, and that appears by 2 years and it gets complete by 4 years of age, that spongy bone formation. So then the fetal skull will be bilaminar with 2 compact bone, inner and outer table, and in between spongy or cancellous bones. Then the differences between adult and newborn skull, I have told you: mastoid process absent, styloid process absent, paranasal sinuses are not well developed, maxilla and mandible are quite reduced in size, and the face is very small compared to the size of the neurocrania. Then age of fusion we have covered. Okay, and then yeah, I have told you. Anterior fontanel importances: first is molding, then is engagement of the fetal head by palpating sagittal suture and the anterior fontanel, development of brain, because massive brain development occurs by 2 years, so 18 months, after which it is supposed to fuse. If it doesn't fuse, then it indicates rickets or calcium and vitamin D deficiency. If it is during the well baby clinic examination, the doctor palpates for the anterior fontanel to know the hydration status of the fetus. If it is depressed, it is dehydration. If it is bulging, most likely cause would be obstruction in the CSF drainage pathway. IV fluids can be given in a dehydrated infant through the scalping catheter directly into the superior sagittal sinus, which is just underlying the sagittal suture. Okay, and then blood can be drawn from the superior sagittal sinus for any bacteriological examination in case the pulses are not felt, in very rare conditions. Okay, so that is about the fetal skull. Most of the exam questions also we have covered, and thank you so much.